Hey, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so we're getting ready to actually send some data. So let's create some data here. We have our code here already written for saving to the database. What we don't have is the code on our server that's going to receive this information, because we are doing a post request here and sending to another page. So this is the page that will receive the AJAX request, and so we need to code for that. So as a use case here, we're going to load some content. So I can get any of these images, and let's add something to save over here. Okay, so let's go on this one and there. Finally here. All right. Okay, so we have 5 images here, as you can see. Okay, and we should add some text here as well. So we can say drag and drop on the required section. I don't know. You can write whatever information you want there. So when I click save puzzle, it should actually save the puzzle. Okay, so here it shows me the result. Once it says saving complete, it's going to write a console.log of the returned values, and those returned values are anything that was echoed during the transaction here, during the running of this AJAX page. Anything you echo will be regarded as a result here. So if I say something like, let me add some PHP tags. If I say echo hello, we're going to see that inside our console once the saving is done. But what we really want to do is capture all this information here. So the first thing we want to do is create a table. We need a database table to house whatever we want here. So the first thing we're going to do is connect to a database. So let's actually create a database. Now we're going to open a new tab here and type localhost/phpMyAdmin. This will take us to the area where we can view our databases. So I just want to create a puzzle DB over here. If I already did not, apparently not, no. So here I'm just going to say new, and here just say puzzle_db, and then hit create. So now I have that puzzle DB there, and I need to create tables within it. So in this table, I'm just gonna, I think I'll name this one puzzles, like that, and we can hit go. Doesn't matter the number of columns, but we can put a ridiculous number because we can leave some empty. So I'm just going to put 10 there, and let's hit go. Okay, so in here we need a few things. First of all, we need the ID as a primary key. So I'm going to click auto increment here and make sure the index is primary. That's going to be governed by the database itself. It will add an ID every time we add a new record. So type is int, which is good. Now the things we need here to save, each one of these will be a column. So let's say the instruction. The instruction could be long, so maybe we're going to set it as text, or if you want it shorter, you can set it as, let's see, say instruction, and here we're going to select the variable character. Now if you select text, then you don't need to specify the length, but we can say variable character and do 2048 characters. That should be good enough. And let's put no here, because sometimes user should be allowed to leave this empty. Okay, so no means it can accept empty values if needed, and then we'll have a place to store the main image. So now the thing is, we are never going to be storing images directly in the database. So instead, we're going to store the path to the file. So we're going to just create a file on disk, save that, and then we're going to put the path here instead. I think 1024, 1024 should be enough. Now we always need our main image, so we're not going to select the null. And then if we go next here, selections, right? Now selections is going to be a JSON string. Now a JSON string is just a string that's formatted in such a way that it's easy to understand what's going on. Like you can put it back into an array. So it's a way to convert an array to a string in such a way that it's easy to put it back into an array if we need to. So this is just a string version of an array, which is this one. So this is going to be text, and usually quite a bit of it. So what we're going to do here is select text for this one and text for the other one. Now sometimes the amount of data you store in here may exceed text. So at that point you have to confirm. You can use big text instead, or medium text. Is it medium text? There's small. Where are these guys? So there's text, there's medium text, and long text, depending on the size of the thing. So this is 4 GB. The other one I think can store up to, I'm not sure, 2 GB or something. I don't know. You have to experiment with those, but text should do for us right now. So this one we'll call it selections, and then this one we'll call it image selections. So we use the underscore there. So selections, image selections. Okay, so text for each. Now I don't know about, let's just put no on each one of those just in case. Now if there's any other data that you want to store there, you could, like for example, which user is saving this, you can save their user ID, or things like the date when this was created, you can save that too. So just so you know how to do that, I'm going to put date created here, and we're going to put the date time, and I'm going to select no there just in case. I think this can save everything we actually need. Yeah, the instruction, the main image, the selections, and those images that were selected. This should be enough to recreate what we have now once we save it. So once we do that, let's hit the save button here. And so now we have this table. Date created, we may need to find a particular record by date, so you could put an index there if you want. The rest of it remains as it is. So let's go to browse here, and the database is empty. So we want to be able to save stuff there. So I'm going to go to Ajax here, that ajax.php file. And the first thing I want to do is let's create a connection to the database first. So we're going to do ifcon like this, so that only when we connect do we do anything. If not, we just ignore it. So you could, if you want, put an else statement here and just say echo could not connect to database. That way anything you echo, like I said, will be returned as a result over here. So you can check out what was echoed by just checking the console. All right, so that's at that point we want to do MySQLi. We're just going to use MySQLi connect because sometimes PDO doesn't work as required on certain servers. So we're going to, however, this would have been better with PDO actually. PDO is a little bit long-winded with how much you need to actually type to get it to work, but This is a real choice here. I like PDO because I can use prepared statements, which is the right way of doing things. So maybe let's just do the right way, right? So let's do new PDO like that. All right. So PDO takes in a few params here. So we will do a string there. We'll put a comma. And then in here, we're going to put the username, which is root. And of course, the password here, which is just an empty string. So these are the default values. If you're on a Mac using MUMP, you probably need to put root here as well. And if you, when installing MySQL, you added a username and password, that's what you're going to put here, username and password. So it doesn't matter if you use single quotes or double quotes, really, no big deal. So first of all, you tell it what driver you're using, because PDO can use multiple drivers. So it's MySQL. Let's put a full colon there. And then we're going to type the host name, and host name is localhost. And then we'll use semicolons in here to separate the values. So we have our host name. What else do we need? In order to connect, you just need the host name, the username and password, which we have here. What's missing, I think, is the database name. That's right. So I'm going to say DB name is equal to, and our database name is puzzle_DB, like that. All right. Yeah. So that does it, comma, username, comma, password. Okay, great. Now we need to know if what we've done here is correct. So what I'm going to do is say var dump like this. I just want to see what type of data is contained in the connection, or if we're going to get that. So we can check on this right here by just submitting this, and then check our console for a result. So the console is empty right now, but if I say save and it says save complete and I say OK, then I get some messages in the console. So there's a fatal error here and it says uncaught PDO exception, unknown database puzzle DB. Okay, so at least we know things are working. We just missed a Z there because that database name was unknown, just means you don't have that database in your list. So I'm going to save that again. Say save complete. And as you can see now, it's an object PDO. It means everything is fine. So we are ready to do stuff. Now, I don't like, wait a minute. I don't like having to do this here. So what we're going to do is, actually, this one should just be die instead of, we should just exit there and don't do anything more. What I want to do is just create a function which I can use to read and write data quickly, so I don't have to retype this portion of the thing again, right? So I'm going to do, let's create a function here. The function will be called query, like that, and then it will run a query. So we expect a query string over here, and then we expect some data in form of an array. Because we'll be using prepared statements, so we're going to be carrying the query and the data separately. So if you watched some of my tutorials already, you've seen this format before. So in order to read or write data from a database, of course, we use a query. But instead of, sometimes we have to put our values in the query, which opens us up for hacking and SQL injection. So to avoid that, we can use prepared statements. In that case, what happens is we give the query separately to the actual data. That way the data cannot be mixed with the query, blah, 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 etc., etc. So let me remove that. This is inside this part like so. So if connection is good, then we are ready to go. So here the connection is good. So what I want to do now is just use the connection to create a prepared statement. So I'm going to do statement is equal to con and then use the prepare. So using this notation, because this is object-oriented programming, so this, what we've created, is a class, and we are trying to access this function within this class like that. And the result of this function is a prepared statement, which is this one here. So the prepare function takes in the query. Whatever the query is, it should be prepared. And then once we have our statement, now we can check if this can be executed. So we're just going to say check, and we're going to execute our prepared statement. And we will put in data in there just in case there is some data. If the data is empty or there's nothing, it will just ignore that, because this will be an empty array, as you can see here. Okay. So once we have that, then we can do if check like this. Okay. Then we can do a fetch. If check was okay, then we can do result is equal to, and we use the same statement and say fetch all to get all the results. Now here you can specify using an integer, maybe 1, 2, 3, and so on, what type of data you want to receive. Do you want an array or an object? But it's rather hard to remember the actual integers. So PDO comes with a static integer list, which you can use, which you can access using actual text. So in this case, I want maybe objects. So I'm going to say fetch obj. If you wanted an array, you'd fetch a sock like this. Okay, so let's do obj. All right. So all this is doing is getting an integer that resides inside the PDO object. So we access it using the actual PDO, not the, I think you can do it using the statement itself or the connection there, I think. But this is a static access. So we're getting it from the actual PDO class, and this is a property named fetch object. If you check this and try to echo this, you find that this is just an integer. It's just a number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. So we want to check if there's any result here. So we want to first of all check if is array, if the result is an array. Now you may be wondering, we are getting objects, but why are we checking if this is an array? Well, when there are many objects, they are put inside an array, so it will always be an array. The result will always be an array if there is a result, but it will be an array of objects. So if this is an array, and we have to make sure the array is not empty, and we say and count result, the count of those result is greater than 0, which means the number of items in that array, then only then do we return a result. So what do we do here? We do return result like that. Okay. Otherwise, if things did not go well, we just return false like that. Okay, and with that we have our query. So we just do query and run a query with this function, and it's going to read or write to our database. Great. So with that in mind, now we want to know what we are doing here. Now there's something I forgot here, is that we need to give it at least the data type, because I want to be doing all kinds of operations here using the ajax.php. So what we're going to do is put another key here called data type, and in here we're going to tell it that this one is save puzzle, for example. Okay, so we've named it save puzzle as a data type, just so we know what to do with this data when it gets on the other side, because we can actually write several functions to send data to the same file, which is the ajax.php file, And when the data gets here, we should be able to know what to do with it based on what the data type is that we've set on this side. It just helps to organize things a little bit better.